Namaste yogis, welcome back. 1 hour of yin and yang. We have Daniel here again. He'll be demonstrating, so I'm gonna have him come on out. Welcome, sir. Let's start off laying on our backs. So if you wanna just lay flat on your back, just finding a comfortable shape, go ahead and slide the soles of your feet together. Let the knees flop open, arms can fall down your sides, you could cactus arm, you could lay them on your torso, on your hips in any comfortable shape. Just kind of playing around with it. If this is too much in the lower back, you could slide the legs straight, you could bend the knees and have your feet flat on the floor. There's really no concrete or hard and fast rules as to this beginning shape. But I do want the spine lying long on the mat, so no props underneath it. And then just closing your eyes. Take a quick scan of your body from the tips of your toes, the length of your legs, the torso, down the arms, out to the fingertips. And then all the little muscles within the face and the back of the skull. And just notice if you're holding on to any tightness, tension. And then just consciously tell yourself to soften and release. Find this place of trying not to try so hard. And then with that, we can really begin to tap into the breath. So let's first allow gravity to aid in a nice long exhale. Just letting the front body get very heavy. And then take a deep inhale through your nose. Send that breath to the hook of your tailbone. Feel your ribs expand out horizontally. And then open up your mouth. Take another long, slow, deep inhale, filling from the bottom to the top. Holding that breath, unless you're pregnant, you always want to keep breathing. And then open up your mouth. One more deep inhale through the nose, holding that breath at the peak. This time, keeping the lips gently sealed, go ahead and slowly exhale out the nose. So just continue to breathe in and out your nose as slowly and as deeply as you can. Nothing forced, just mindful and rhythmic. Full inhales and equally long exhales. And then from here, go ahead and just begin to wiggle the toes, the fingers. You could roll out your wrists, maybe slide your legs out long, point through the toes as you take your arms up and overhead, stretch the body long, take a deep inhale, maybe even let your lower back lift. And then exhale, pull the knees into the chest, draw little circles in one direction, kind of massaging, waking up the lower back. And then switch if you haven't already. And then keeping the knees towards the chest, I want you to bring the soles of your feet together and open the knees up like butterfly pose as we just were. Take your arms in between the legs and kind of interlace your hands at the pinky-toed edge of your feet. So up and over the shins. And as you pull your feet towards you, maybe gently push your knees away from you, just being gentle. Maybe a little rock side to side. And then holding on to the feet, I want you to begin to lift your head, your neck, your shoulders up off the ground. Almost as if you're curling your face towards those feet, pulling the belly tight. The lower back should really press into the earth. Inner thighs working away from your hips. Now can you press your feet together actively and just reach your arms straight up towards the ceiling. Pull the lower belly and knit your ribs in. Keep pressing those knees out. You should feel this in those outer glutes. Pull the lower belly tight. Now slowly take your hands, interlace the hands behind your head and pull your elbows apart, but try not to let your shoulders flatten out the mat. Try and keep the shoulder blades lifted. Now it's going to be kind of like a sideways crunch. So take an inhale. As you exhale, you're going to crunch your right elbow to that right knee, but on the outer body. So not up towards the ceiling, but out to the sides. Perfect. Inhale, come to center. And exhale, left elbow to left knee. Inhale, come to center. Exhale, right elbow to right knee. Inhale, center. And exhale, switch. So just doing this on your own, side to side, kind of like a pincher crab or something. I don't even know. Just a weird shape. Try to keep the shoulders and the hips slightly lifted. Use those obliques. Keep pushing the knees and elbows out. Keep breathing. And then let's meet after you've done the left elbow to left knee, just in the middle. Now keep your shoulders up, bring your knees together, point through the toes, take an inhale. Exhale, you're going to lift your elbows to tap your knees. And then inhale, let the shoulders lower, tap your toes to the mat. And then exhale, crunch in, knees to elbows, curl into a tight little ball. Inhale, extend out. And exhale, pull in. So doing this on your own, try not to ever let the lower back lift. So as you extend the legs out, keep pulling the belly down. If that ever is too much, keep the knees bent, just tap your toes to the mat behind your bottom. So you kind of keep that little ball shape. Breathe. And then we'll meet with a crunch, elbows to knees. Imagine I put a quarter between your elbows and the knees, and as if I were there pulling you apart, you don't want to let that happen. Squeeze a little tighter, and then let it go. Plant your feet in line with your sit bones. So heels flat on the floor, as close to the bottom as you can get them. Plant your palms next to your hips. Inhale, lift your hips up towards the sky. By pulling the knees forward over the ankles, spin your inner thighs down towards the mat. So the knees should constantly stack with the center of your ankles. Imagine dragging your heels back as you lengthen your tailbone towards your calves. Pull the lower belly in. Pressing into the palms, or maybe you begin to karate chop your pinkies and outer wrists down to roll your arm bones underneath you. If your chin is digging into the chest, drop the sternum bone down just slightly. And then inhale, lift everything a little higher. And exhale, set it all down. Grab onto the legs. Begin to rock backwards and forwards, up and down. Find enough momentum that you can come to downward dog. So you'll cross one shin in front of the other, plant your hands in front of you, step back, maybe jump back. Take your time, get there however you need to. Once you get there, you might even drift to a high plank to make sure that your hands and feet are in the correct distance apart. You could pedal out your legs, you can come up and down on your toes. But whatever you do, get past that fidgeting, past that movement, and then just remind yourself that ultimately stillness is your goal. So one aspect in yin and yang is we have to understand that although this is the yang portion, yin is still present. So once you settle into that stillness, let your feet rest hips distance apart. Make your heels spin back and just slightly out so they disappear behind your toes. And even if you have to bend the knees, especially if it's your first downward dog of the day, lift your hip creases straight up to the sky, releasing and lengthening the lower back. And then knitting the front ribs and the sternum bone in as if you're trying to resist dumping or pushing the chest down. Push your spine here. There you go. Now keep the height of the hips, the length within the spine, but begin to push the tops of your thighs straight back to begin to anchor the heels down, even if they don't touch. Now keeping the head and neck relaxed, we'll consciously think about the hands. Can you lift just your fingertips up off the mat? You want to ground down through the whole circumference of your palm, and then as your fingers spread wide, they root each knuckle ending with your fingertips. Now keep your hands as they are, but hug your shoulder blades to the outer rib cage. It's called protraction. They hug out, wrapping the triceps back, and then I want you to think of lifting your forearms forward. And then with an inhale, we'll come forward, high plank or top of a push-up. Hips level out with the shoulders, heels push back as the crown of the head lengthens forward. The thighs lift against the weight of your hips, staying level with your shoulder blades. Tailbone draws towards the heels, lower belly pulls towards the spine. The wrists, elbows, shoulders stack, and you want to push so much into the inner edge of your palm, you want to push down so your chest actually lifts up. The space between your shoulders gets very broad, but try and feel it out. If they're chicken winging, you want to actually hug those scapulas into the back using your serratus. Breathe, take a deep inhale. As if there's a rope under your hip creases, exhale, lift them up and back, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Inhale, come forward, high plank. And exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. Let's do one more. Inhale to high plank. And exhale, downward facing dog. Now inhale, come forward, high plank. As you lean your shoulders forward, maybe you drop to the knees. Exhale, halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, maybe up dog. Just stay gentle. And then exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. So from downward dog, we'll piece that together, breath per movement, finding our first official vinyasa of the class. Inhale to high plank. Leaning out, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, urdhva mukha, or just upward facing. And then exhale, adho mukha, downward facing. From downward dog, let's go ahead and inhale the right leg to the sky. Keeping that right hip square to the ground. So first wrap the outer right hip down so the back ridge of your pelvis stays level. Now flexing that right foot, you're going to turn the toes out to the right. Try to get your inner thigh to face the mat. Just finding an external rotation. Stop before your right hip lifts. Now with an exhale, keep that rotation, come forward to a high plank. Shoulders over wrists, belly pulls tight towards the spine, toes still turn out. Now exhale, pull that right knee towards that outer right arm. Inhale, kick the leg out, toes turn out. Breathe. Bend the knee, heel to butt. Three-legged dog. Kick it up and back, flex the toes. Keep the hips square, rotate your toes out to the right. Keep that drift forward to a high plank. Belly in. Exhale, knee towards that right arm. Keep flexing the foot. You're going to try and kick the leg straight out without touching the foot down. And then pull the heel to your butt. Inhale, kick the leg up and back, square off the hip. Rotate the toes out. Drift forward, high plank. Pull the knee to the arm and then try to kick it straight out. Pull the heel to the butt. Inhale, stretch the leg up. Flex the foot. Keep the hips square, flex the toes, and this time it'll be a little different. Keep the leg straight the whole time. Drift forward and sweep that foot out to the right. Inner thigh facing the mat. Try and get the knee towards your arm. Belly in. Yes. And then inhale, lift the leg up and back. Bend the knee and open your hip. Relax the head and neck. Find a little stretch. Wrap that outer right shoulder down. Pull the belly tight. And then finding the tippy toes of your back foot, really to create more space between your chest and the ground. Push more into the hands so you can actually lift your head, look forward. Exhale, pull the knee to the chest, step next to your right thumb. Cup the earth with the fingertips of your hands. Think a little cobra up dog in your shoulders. High plank in that back leg. Left heel pushes back, left thigh bone lifts. Lower belly pulls tight. Just reach your right arm forward as if you're reaching out to shake my hand. Try and create more space from that right hip crease, hugging back to extend that right arm forward. Lift the left thigh at the point closest to your glutes towards the ceiling. And then if you can, pull the belly in and reach your left arm forward. Do so. Try not to lift your chest a ton. That 3 or 4 inches that you all just did, lower the chest a little bit. Pull the belly towards the thigh, wrap your triceps down towards the mat. Keep the back leg strong. Even here, think of almost curling your tailbone forward so you're not just dumping into that right hip. Maybe lift the arms a little higher. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands to the mat. Pause, drop the back knee, top of the foot to the ground. Slide that back leg back a little bit. Stay high in the fingertips of your hands. Flex your right foot as you pull the right leg straight. Left hip should stack at the knee. Right toes flex straight up to the ceiling. Outer right hip hugs in as the inner thighs squeeze closer together. But really I want you to feel as if you're dragging your right heel towards your left knee. So you keep the hamstring safe. Lengthening the spine forward, pulling the belly off the thigh. Keep flexing your right foot. And here I want you to rotate your toes out to the right. And then lift them back up to center. And then rotate them out to the right. Lift them back up to center. Do one more. Keep dragging that heel back to keep the hamstring safe. Bring it through center. Now pull the belly tight. Imagine dragging your left knee and right heel closer together. Reach your arms back. Palms face the earth or each other. Don't hyperextend the knee. That right knee stays a little bent and you're literally dragging your right heel back. It's good even if your mat starts to crimple up a little bit. Now slowly rebend your front knee. Tuck your back toes. Drive the left heel back. Lift your left thigh bone up. Pull the belly tight. Extend your arms forward. Pull the hands to heart center. Lean so far forward that the natural reaction is you going forward lifts your back foot up, warrior three. Flex that back heel. Spin the inner left thigh down, up towards the sky as the outer left hip wraps down. Right thigh bone presses back as your right hip hugs back. Lift that left heel a little higher. Cobra up dog in the chest. Maybe reach your arms back. Maybe you extend them forward if you want a little bit more. And then as you're ready, inhale, just come to standing. Left foot slides next to right. Arms reach up to the sky, Tadasana. And then exhale, pull the hands to heart center. Lining up the heels. Inhale, mountain pose. Reach for the sun. Exhale, bow forward towards the earth. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, plant the hands, step, maybe jump back if you're feeling ready. Chaturanga, but no rush. Inhale, lift the spine. And exhale, lifts the hips. Now from downward dog, we lead with the inner left thigh towards the ceiling as we lift the left leg up. So remember, the goal of that is to level out the back ridge of the pelvis. That is meant to stay put as you flex the left foot and rotate the toes out to the left. Don't do it to the point where your left hip lifts. Keep it down, level with the right. Now keep that turn out. You're going to drift forward to a high plank. That inner thigh and the arch of your foot should kind of be parallel-ish to the mat. Now pull the knee to your left arm towards the outer shoulder, tricep. Try to kick the leg straight out, hovering the foot off the mat. And then use that hamstring, curl the heel back to your butt first. Kick the leg straight back to that plank version, and then lift the hips. Three-legged dog squared off. Now flex the foot, turn the toes out. Drift forward, three-legged plank. Exhale, knee to arm. Straighten the leg to the left side of the room. Find that hover. Rebend the knee. Three-legged plank with a turnout, and then three-legged dog lifted up and back. Square it off. Now turn the toes out. We have one more. Drift forward, three-legged plank. Knee to elbow or outer tricep. Straighten the leg to the side of the room. Pull the heel to the butt. And then take it back. And then up to the sky. Square it off. Now flexing the foot, turn the toes out. Keeping the leg straight the whole time. Slowly drift forward, three-legged plank. As if you're roundhouse kicking that leg forward. And then inhale, take it up and back. Bend the knee and open your hip. That should feel nice. Hug the outer right hip back. Wrap the outer left shoulder down. Find the tippy toes of your back foot. Push down into your hands to your chest and your head can actually lift. Look forward. Exhale, knee to chest, stepping next to the left thumb. Cup the earth with the fingertips. Think cobra up dog in the shoulders, but it's not so much important that the chest lifts off your thigh. I want you to think more lower belly pulling to the spine. Nice. Right thigh lifts, right heel pushes back, and then we reach the left arm forward in that handshake fashion. Wrapping the tricep down now, getting that structure, that shape. Hugging the left hip back. Now remember, as if you almost had a block or something underneath your right femur bone at the point closest to your hip flexor, lifting up towards the ceiling, then maybe your right arm reaches forward, palms face each other or the ceiling. Back leg is extremely active, left hip is hugging in, left hamstring turning on, lower belly pulling tight. Maybe lift those arms a little higher. And then exhale, release your hands down, release your back knee, top of the foot, and slide that leg back an inch or two. Now flexing your front foot as you pull your front leg straight, Ardha Hanumanasana. Right hip should stack directly above the knee. That left heel, remember, you're trying to drag it back to keep the hamstring and the knee safe. You're still high in the fingertips of your hands, spine is lengthening forward, belly's pulling away from the thigh. So keep that gluing of the inner thighs close together, but flex your left foot and turn the toes out to the left, as if you're trying to get the pinky toe edge of your foot to touch the ground. And then lift the toes back to center. Exhale, talk it out to the left. And then bring it back up. We have one more. Externally rotating the femur. Bring it through the middle. Now make sure the left knee is soft. Squeeze your inner thighs closer together. Pull the belly off your thigh. Reach your arms back. Palms face the earth. Press into the back shin to stabilize. And then slowly let your left toes touch down as you rebend the front knee. Tuck your back toes, drive the heel back, and lift your right thigh up. Pull the belly tight. Reach your arms forward just for a moment. Soften in the face. Pull your hands to heart center. And remember, it's not a propel, just a shift of weight. Lean forward so the back foot naturally, magically floats up. Flex the back heel. Square off the right hip. Hug the left hip in and push into that left big toe. Cobra up dog through the shoulders, but hug the front ribs in. Your arms can stay as they are, hands at heart center. You might reach them back. I think that's a little easier. And then for the harder version, you might extend the arms forward. But breathe. And then very slowly lift your head up. Let your right foot fall next to left. Sweep your arms up, Tadasana. Exhale, hands to heart center. Lining up the heels, inhale, mountain pose. Arms fall before they rise. Exhale, forward fold, lead with your heart, hinge at the hips. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. Daniel's not sweating yet, so I might have to step it up a bit. Kidding. Let's go through a few more sun A's. Inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold in. Now the same flat back. Inhale, reverse swan dive your arms to the sky. And exhale, pull the hands through heart center. Inhale, Tadasana, circle the arms up, maybe look up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, Chaturanga. Finish this one off on your own, and then I want you to do one more on your own, just following your breath. Try not to look at the screen and see what Daniel's doing. Just breathe. Every inhale generally is an up and forward motion. Every exhale is a down and back. Maybe you even close your eyes. And once you reach downward facing dog, you'll just hang out. And once you get to downward dog, let's go ahead and inhale the right leg to the sky. Bend the knee and open your hip. Relax the head and neck. So you're going to keep that rotation, but I want you to floint your right foot. So that means point your foot, but flex your toes as if you're wearing a high heel. And then begin to drift forward for Wild Thing. Shoulders over wrists. You'll reach your right arm up and overhead as you let those right toes touch down behind you. Still as if you were wearing a high heel. That left leg stays straight as if they were in side plank. Maybe even working to get your left toe on the mat. Roll your left shoulder blade down the back. Try to think of lifting more through the upper back, through the shoulder blades rather than the hips. That top palm should face the mat. Breathe. Now I want you to inhale, just reach your right arm straight up towards the sky, stack your right shoulder on top of the left and look down to the mat. Now pull the belly tight, and can you just float your right foot on top of the left, side plank. Oh. If you need to drop your left knee, stack it under the hip so that it's helping you, not preventing you. If not, you're going to keep the foot as it is, flex the foot. Now reach your top arm up and overhead. And we're just going to try 1 or 2, maybe 3. Lift the right foot up. On an exhale, you're going to bend your right knee, pull your elbow to meet your knee, and then inhale, extend out. 2 more. Exhale, elbow to knee, even if you're on your left knee. Inhale, extend out. Last one, exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, extend out. Pause, let your right foot rest on top of the left, reach your right arm up. Take an inhale. As you exhale, right hand down, high plank. Pause, hover your right foot up off the mat. Pull the belly tight, knee to chest. For 3. Push into the hands to lift the chest and the head. 2. Get the knee a little closer and then step in between the hands. Turn the back heel down. Lead with your left arm, warrior 2. Come on up. So a lot of times I have students ask me how I come up with my sequences. I just dream them about them. Dream torture techniques. You know. Line up the feet, front heel to back heel or back arch. Back toes turn forward. Draw the tailbone down, lower belly pulls in. Even though the right knee is working forward by the inner thigh coming forward, imagine almost resisting it back. Lift through the spine, pull the front body tight. Expand through the arms. Now as you focus over your front hand, flip your right palm up and inhale, reach it up, reverse warrior. Keep your backhand light and most definitely away from the knee. As the front knee still tracks forward, you want to think of lifting your right hip bone up towards your hand, and that's where the extension back comes from. Tailbone hooks forward almost towards your right heel. Pull the belly tight. You can look up underneath your right arm. You might look down your back leg if it's more comfortable within the cervical spine. But take an inhale. As you exhale, right forearm to right thigh, left arm will go up and overhead. Extended side, ground down to the knife edge of your back foot. Lift that inner left thigh up towards the ceiling so that back leg stays active. Front body hugs in, that top tricep wraps down. Your right shoulder hugs away from the ears, down the back. We breathe. Now just take that left hand and fan it onto your lower back. Reach for your right hip crease. Maybe even grab the front of your thigh. Lift the tip of your left shoulder up, but hug the front body in. Now keeping that, you might decide to extend your bottom arm forward, half bound unsupported side angle. And you maybe not. If you don't, never take my class again. I'm kidding. Daniel's fired. Now keeping your half bind wherever you're at, I want you to look 12 inches in front of your right foot. Slowly begin to step your right hand there as you work on lifting your back foot up off the mat. Half bound, half moon. Flex that back foot. And here you want to actually rotate the inner left thigh down towards your right leg as you lift the left hip up. And then for height in that back leg, you lift the inner thigh up towards the inner ankle. Lengthen those right ribs away from your hip. Pull the front body in. If this is enough, you stay here. If you want a little bit of a challenge, find a focal point, something to help you stay balanced. You're going to bend your back leg, but it's not what you think. You're going to try and reach up with your bottom hand to grab hold of that left foot. Funky Trikonasana, Ardha Chandrasana. The hardest part there is to keep that left hip and shoulder on top of the right. And don't make that face like you just ate a jalapeno or something. Breathe, so your face shouldn't be turning red because you're holding your breath. Now wherever you're at, the right hand is going to go down, left arm is going to reach up. Bend your standing leg as deep as you can. Hug that right hip back. Now begin to swing that left leg out to the left. Try and shoot it straight out from your hip, inner thigh parallel to the mat. Oh. And then sweep it straight back. A little half moon. Bend your standing leg deeper. And then gently reverse warrior. Float your left foot back. Reach your right arm up and back. Take an inhale. And exhale, cartwheel your hands down. Step back. Chaturanga or don't. You can always skip those if it's too much. And meet us in downward dog. Now from downward dog, we're going to inhale the left leg to the sky. Bend the knee, open the hip. Keep the torso square, lifting the tip of your left knee and hip towards the ceiling. So remember, this left foot, you're going to floint it. Point your foot, but then flex your toes. Yep. Now keep that within the foot. You're going to slowly begin to drift forward. And once your shoulder's over your wrist, you'll reach that left arm up and overhead, letting your left toes touch down. Wild thing. Bottom leg, that right leg stays straight. You're working the right big toe towards the mat. On the tippy toes of that left foot to elevate the hips, but think of lifting through the shoulders. That left palm should face the mat. You may even look back at your fingertips, opening the whole front body. Breathe. Roll the right shoulder blade away from your ear. Now slowly just reach your left arm towards the ceiling. Stack your shoulders and look down to the mat. Stack your shoulders. There you go. Pull the belly tight. And without just flinging it forwards, float your left foot on top of the right. Side plank. Big toe to big toe, or you drop that right knee. And remember, if you drop the knee, stack it under your hip. Pull the belly tight, roll the right shoulder away from your ear, take the top arm up and overhead, extend it long. And even if you're on the right knee, you can do this with us. Lift your left foot up, hover. Exhale, elbow to knee. Ooh, try and keep them high. Inhale, extend them out. Exhale, elbow to knee. It's like those crunches we did in the beginning. Inhale, extend them out. Last one, exhale. Inhale, extend out, pause. Reach the arm towards the ceiling. Exhale, high plank. Set it up, pause. Float your left foot up. Pull the knee to your chest. We hold for 3. Everything's a 3 today. Pull the knee into the cavity of your chest. Lift your head. And step next to your left thumb. Turning the back heel down. Warrior 2, come on up. So remember, the alignment of the feet, heel to heel or heel to arch, that is preference. But the back toes turning forward at least 10 degrees up in front of your heels for the protection of your body. This right thigh, the right femur bone, should be actually wrapping slightly forward, so it's anchoring into your hip. Inner left thigh draws forward to get the knee to the ankle. Imagine even here dragging that left heel back to turn on your hamstring. Tailbone draws down as the rest of the spine lifts. Make sure you hug the front body in. So as if you're lifting your rib cage up, but then dropping the shoulders down against that. Expanding the arms apart. Focusing over your front hand, we flip the left palm up. Inhale, reach it up, reverse warrior. Find your stretch. Keep the backhand light. Pull the belly tight. You want to become more dependent on the core to support this pose than anything else. Squeeze the inner thighs closer together. Keep the top arm straight. Up comes first. Remember, the backward reach comes from lifting your left hip towards your fingertips. Take an inhale. Maintain that space. You created exhale, left forearm to left thigh. Right arm goes up and overhead. Finding another lateral stretch. Ground down from the back foot and shoot out energy through the fingertips. Inner right thigh is still wrapping back and almost up towards the ceiling. Left shoulder blade hugs down the back as you lengthen the left ribs forward into it. Lower belly pulls tight. And then we wrap the right hand onto the lower back, finding the hip crease, the edge of your pants, the front of your thigh. As the right shoulder tip lifts, hug the front body in. Maybe you extend that bottom arm forward, palm facing the sky. And keeping the half bind, you're just going to look 12 inches in front of your left foot. Think of stepping your left hand there and lifting your back foot up. It's like a teeter-totter, that shift of weight again. Flex the back foot as if you're trying to kick a hole through the wall behind you. And as you lift the right hip and shoulder up, remember you're actually anchoring that right inner thigh. Think of spinning it down without wrapping the hip down. Lift your inner thigh up towards your inner ankle for height. And if you want that funky Chapasana Ardha Chandrasana, you bend the back leg, reach up with your bottom hand to try and grab hold of it. Breathe. So wherever you're at, let's slowly enter full half moon. Left hand down, right arm reaches up, right leg kicks back. Now slowly bend your left knee as deep as you can. Pause. Keep the inner right thigh facing the mat. You're going to roundhouse kick your right leg out to the right and almost forward, but no further forward than your hip. If you can get it further forward than your hip, I'd be very surprised. And then sweep it straight back. Bend the knee if you straightened it at all. Gently reverse warrior float. Left hand reaches up and back. Once the foot plants down, maybe you look up. Take an inhale, exhale, windmill the hands down. Step back, chaturanga. Inhale, urdhva mukha, and exhale, adho mukha. From downward dog, we'll take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Hold this breath at the very top. Close your eyes. Don't be shy. Stick out your tongue, lion's breath. The next one is going to be more like a horse's breath. You're going to patter your lips together and maybe even shake out your head. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose to hold. And then just go back to breathing in and out your nose. Soften your face. Go ahead and slowly drop the knees to the mat. Sit back behind your feet. Bring your legs out in front of you. So with your legs out in front of you, find your sit bones. So it's important to grab the cushion, aka butt cheek, pull it straight back behind you. So the lower back and tailbone, right, lift out from underneath you. We're gonna keep the left leg as it is. Let's bring the right leg into like a half butterfly. So the inner foot will hit the inner thigh. Right knee flops open. If your knee doesn't touch the ground, I want you to put a pillow, a block, a book, something underneath it just to anchor it down into the ground. Now let's take the hands and just cup the earth on either side of your left leg. Round out your spine. Think of getting your forehead to meet your left hip bone without letting your tailbone round underneath you. So rounding from the lower back up. There you go. And then slowly crawling your hands forward, bending at the elbows, letting them get heavy. And then you can put a block inside your leg, outside your leg. If you put it on top of the leg, just make sure that it doesn't force your left knee down. And then notice if you're still flexing your left foot, you can let it soften. Pulling the belly to the spine, closing the eyes, and just try to visualize your spine. You want a very even rounding from the hook of your tailbone up through the sacrum, the lumbar spine, which is the lower back, the thoracic spine, which extends from the mid back to the upper back, and into your cervical spine. And what you should be feeling here is the two different types of stresses that we're working on would be a compression in the front chain of the spine, so the part of our spine that faces our inner organs. That part of the spine, the ligaments, the tendons are being compressed. And on the back chain of the spine that's facing the ceiling, that is being extended or opened, kind of pulled apart, right? And so within yin yoga, we never want to go 100% because that would be too much stress. We want to go about maybe 35, 45% of what we would normally do. And that's generally the hardest shift for most people to make, remember, is telling ourselves it's okay to do less, not to try so hard. So if you can feel those physical sensations of compression and extension, great. If not, maybe notice the elongation of the muscles in the back of your left leg, the length of your spine, the inner groin in the right leg working away from the pelvis as that right knee gets heavy. Make sure those right glutes are soft. And always checking in with your breath. Breathing in and out your nose is the first step. And if you can, if you have congestion or a nasal situation that actually literally doesn't allow you to breathe in and out the nose, then that's okay. And then the second stage is just beginning to even the breath out. Without changing it yet, just begin to make sure your exhales are the same duration as your inhales. So even if that's counting out your breaths, and maybe right now at this point, your inhale's only 3 seconds long, do make sure the exhale is the same amount of time. And the third step is now beginning to become a little bit more conscious and taking more mindful breaths so that the breath takes up more space within the mind. So try to take an inhale that's anywhere between 7 to 15 seconds long. And even if your inhale is only 5 seconds long, be sure your exhale is the same amount of time. If not, maybe even a little bit longer. So now I want you to push into your hands just enough that you can pull the belly in and lift your head 2, maybe 3 inches up off your block, and then pause. So you can keep the block where it is, or maybe it comes to the outer leg. But I want you to bring your left elbow to the top of your block. Your hand can go behind your head. And then you're going to slowly begin to reach your right arm up towards the sky, opening the chest to the side of the room. Now option, you could just interlace both hands behind your head and kind of pull that right elbow to the ceiling. You might just reach your arm over your head and just let it dangle over the side of your head. Whatever feels best, whatever kind of gets more into the ligaments, the tendons that connect the triceps, in at the armpit, the lats, the serratus, right? Anchoring the right knee down and back. But again, trying to pull the left shoulder forward under the right as the right shoulder begins to lift more towards the sky. And then just closing your eyes, sitting with your breath. And we'll be in this shape for about 90 seconds. So the first shape we took a little longer, generally because it's a bit more bearable. This one tends to be a little bit more involved in the sense that we find more resistance. But we are still finding those same stresses, but now compressing the left side of lateral side of our spine as we extend and open the right lateral side of the spine. There's a slight shearing of the ligaments within the rib cage, almost that Indian burn sensation, but not quite as extreme, because this is a very mild twist. And then we'll slowly reach the left arm up. Let it fall down inside your leg. And then pull the belly in, let your head lift off your left hand, and you'll use your hands to walk your spine back up. Once your shoulder's over your hips, your head is over your shoulder, take your right hand to the outside of your right knee, lift it up. And then I like to take both hands onto the hamstring, so behind the knee, and slowly slide the knee or leg forward, straighten the knee. And then we'll bring the left foot, the sole of the foot, into the inner right thigh. Do make sure you find your sit bones again. Make sure the hips do stay more or less square to the front of your mat. Cup the earth on either side of your right hand. And without curling your tailbone underneath you, your tailbone is already in that convex shape. So start within the lower back. Pull the belly in, knit the ribs in as if you're trying to get your sternum bone to touch your pubic bone, and then let your chin fall as if you're trying to get your head to your pubic bone. Once you can't round out anymore, then you can crawl forward, put your head on a block, pillow, anything you need to keep the head rested on something. And remember, the reason we do this is to help relax the muscles. So if that front foot is still flexed, soften it. Let the left leg get heavy and soften your left glutes, as they have a tendency to kind of turn on, right? Because in Warrior 2, that is an active hip opener, and those muscles are in charge of opening that hip up. So just letting everything go soft. Relaxing the jaw, unfurrowing the eyebrows, closing your eyes. Searching out the physical sensations, generally because that is the easiest thing to meditate on, right? Because it is concrete, it's something we can feel. Whereas the thoughts of the mind, the emotions that may be triggered, the movement within the energetic body, those are all more subtle. We can't necessarily see them or physically feel them with the sense of touch necessarily. But obviously things like emotions and movement of the energetic body, that's a different type of feeling. It's something internal. And that is really where yin is trying to take us, to these deeper parts of the practice. Allowing ourselves the opportunity to be more attuned with, whether it's things we've held on to, experiences, whether they're good, bad, or traumatic, the emotions that come along with those experiences. Noticing the reaction of the mind. And it's not even so much about what you hear very commonly within yoga is learning how to respond rather than react. Within yin, it's more about becoming witness, just sitting and watching everything. Trying to detach yourself from actually being in the heat of the experience. Not trying to label an emotion good or bad. But almost stepping aside and detaching yourself from it. Because the reality is that we are not this body. That this body is temporary, just as all the experiences we've experienced until this point are temporary. They come and they go just like the fleeting thoughts of our mind. So if you're still with me, you're going to just push into your hands enough and pull the belly in that you can lift your head 2 or 3 inches up off the block. Now you're going to either keep the block inside or you might place it outside your right leg. Put your elbow on top of the block and catch the back of your head with your right hand as you reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. So remember, it could be as if you're interlacing your hands behind you and you lift the left elbow up. If you find that sensation, great. If you can reach the arm over your head and then just let the elbow bend and your arm kind of dangles over the top of your head, it's another way to take it. Like the thing you're really trying to do is to do this with as little muscle engagement or stressing as possible. The right shoulder works its way under the left. The left knee anchors down rather than lifting up. More of our weight does shift naturally into the right side, and that's okay. And there's going to be the involuntary muscles, like our heart and actually our breathing. They're involuntary, which means we don't have a say or control really as to when our heart beats. We do have a little bit more say as the depth of our breath, but it happens regardless of if we're thinking of it or not. So there will be involuntary muscle engagement that's going to prevent you from just rolling onto your right side. But anything you can control, you want to soften. Find a sense of release. Sitting with your breath. And just remembering we are in this one for half the amount of time that we were the first. Even though it may not seem like it, the body and the mind may be reacting or trying to resist it. That is normal. We only have a few more breaths, so stick with the stillness if you can. And then as you're ready, you're going to go ahead and extend the left arm up. And then gently let it fall inside your right leg. Kind of lift your head up off the right hand as you pull the belly in, push into both hands to gently roll your spine up. Take your time, don't rush it. Once you're sitting upright, the left hand will go to the outside of the left knee, lift it up through center. Remember, I like to take the hands behind the knee and use them to kind of resist myself straightening the leg, to be gentle. And then once your legs are straight, go ahead and scoot your bottom forward. Bend the knees, grab onto the backs of your thighs, and let's go ahead and slowly roll down. If you have a block, that is preferable. You're going to bend the knees and plant your feet, lifting the hips, and just stick with the smallest level of the block today. The top edge of your block should rest at the sacrum line, which is that broad upside down triangle at the top of your butt cheeks. If your hips touch down and you feel pinching in the lower back, you generally need to move the block a little bit. Now you're going to bring the soles of your feet together and slowly let your knees begin to flop open. So we're going to take a Supta Baddha Konasana just in a very different way today. So if having the feet close to the block, towards your groin is too much, you can slide the feet a little further forward so your legs make more of a diamond shape. Your hands can rest on your torso. Maybe you cactus arm. Wherever your arms end up, go ahead and close your eyes and just take a few breaths. And with every exhale, try to allow your body to get heavier. So feel the pressure of your sacrum laying on the block. There's a ton of meridian lines that kind of run through the lower back and the back of our hips. So letting the front body get heavier so the back body presses deeper. Feel the knees being pulled down towards the mat, drawing this deep opening in space into the inner groin. All those tendons that connect in at the top of our femur bones, the pubic bone. Maybe the knees get so heavy that the big toes actually begin to separate as the pinky toe edges of your feet press together. So as if you're opening a book, not only within your knees, but also within your feet. And you can begin to feel that within the ligaments and tendons that run along the outer edge of your feet and the top of your ankle. You may feel a little bit more compression within the lower back than normal, as long, again, as you don't feel sharp pinching or stabbing pains within your lower back. That compression is actually healthy. It creates stimulation. Last few breaths. So it's very important that we don't try to use or engage the muscle groups that have been nicely opening and releasing. It's when you generally tear things, whether it's muscle or the ligaments. So one hand at a time, maybe take your right hand to the outer right thigh or knee and lift that knee straight up to the ceiling, putting your right foot flat on the floor. And then your left hand to the outer left leg, using the arm to lift the knee up, both feet flat on the floor. And then let's step the feet a little wider than hip distance apart and let your knees knock together. We'll stay up on the block for now, and this should help really broaden the sacrum out. giving a little bit of space into the lower back, even though it is still being compressed. And then if you're ready, you'll push to the feet to lift the hips. Removing the block and just gently letting the hips touch down. And then if you want to set up your Savasana today, putting blocks underneath your thighs or maybe a nice pillow, but sliding the legs out. If you put blocks underneath the legs, I do like to put it so that bottom edge of the block runs at about the knee crease. It gives the thighs a nice broad space to rest on if they run horizontally underneath the thighs. Arms fall out, palms face up. The front of your shoulders get heavy, really to get the shoulder blades where they're meant to be. The back of your skull lies within the earth. Relax your jaw and let the tongue actually just melt back towards the earth. Traditionally, we take Savasana with a half slit in the eyes, but if having them half slit distracts you, then close them. But the goal of the half slit is to stay present and conscious, yet unattached and unaffected, right? So you see it very commonly, whether it's in photos or if you've ever been to India, in yogis who sit in meditation. They do so with this half slit in their eye, almost as if they were zoning out or maybe somewhat looking like they were stoned, right? But the eyelids are heavy and it's kind of as if they were looking out at nothing. And that is because when a yogi sits within meditation, they're still in their body. And in India, all sorts of things, the chaos of a third world country, there's hundreds of people wandering around them, dead bodies floating down rivers, animals leaving their body on the sides of the street. There's so much that is constantly happening, yet the yogi remains completely detached, one step removed, keeping their mind fully present in the object of their meditation. So for now, just try to find that place of being witness rather than being participant. Aware and conscious, yet detached, unaffected. Letting yourself rest on a very deep level. Rejuvenating from the inside out. So meditation is a word that is very common, very loosely thrown around, right? You hear it pretty much within every yoga class. You have life coaches, therapists, and even psychologists suggesting that you practice it because it's very healthy for the mind. But we have to understand that there's a very clear difference between material and mundane meditation and spiritual meditation. And the fact of the matter is that meditation simply means to single-pointedly focus the senses and the mind. And so at any given point in the day, your mind and your senses are meditating on something, whether that is a particular food, an activity that you want to partake in. It might be something as ridiculous as what you're going to write as your caption on Instagram. It could be sex, right? There's so many different things that the mind is constantly thinking or meditating on. And so much of what we have coined as meditation here in the West, silent meditation, or meditating and sitting and looking at a flickering candle, or even a mandala, this beautiful shape that might be on a wall. These are actually prerequisites to spiritual meditation. Like within the yin practice, we sit still, generally with moments of silence, to begin to notice the mind, witnessing what it's meditating on, right? And then those things like meditating on your breath, meditating on a flickering candle, meditating on a mandala, that is to begin to train your mind to focus on what you want it to focus on. But it is really about concentration to get you to the point where the mind is then ready for spiritual meditation. And the goal of spiritual meditation for yogis is to meditate and single-pointedly focus their mind upon God. Great Spirit, Creator, highest power. But in order to meditate on God, we need to begin to learn a little bit about Him. And so in this day and age, within the Vedas and really within all scriptures of the world, we are recommended to use God's names. And so within yoga, it is called mantra meditation. Whether you sit and link it with your breath, like we do with our own breathing. You could do it with every step as you go on a walk. You could use malas, which are very fashionable, but they're really meant to be used as a tool, not a decoration. Or kirtan is a very nice and beautiful way to practice it. But there is, again, no hard and fast rules. It's like George Harrison once said, all the religions are the branches of one big tree. It doesn't matter what you call him as long as you call. And so God has unlimited amounts of names, and that is what a mantra is. So whether it is Om, Govinda, Rama, Krishna, Allah, Jehovah, Buddha, Yahweh, Adonai, the list is endless. You're meant to choose a name that calls out to your heart and use it. So let's begin to wiggle the toes, the fingers, roll out the ankles, the wrists. You could stretch your arms up and overhead, point to the toes. Stretching the body long, and then when you're ready, roll to your right or left hand side. Take all the time you need, and when you're ready, you'll walk up to a comfortable seat. Whatever that is for your body is up to you, but sit up tall, close your eyes, bring your hands to heart center, and we will finish practice off with a little mantra meditation. So we will take 3 Govinda breaths today. So just like Om breathing, with every inhale, you will center and focus your mind on the mantra Govinda. And then as you exhale, you'll let that mantra roll out with your breath out the mouth. Don't worry about what you sound like, if you're in sequence or even if you're pronouncing it right. That's not what matters, so don't be shy. Let's take our first inhales together. So just a tool that I hope you take with you off the rubber mat. On that note, namaste. Thank you all for tuning in.